Sometimes the entire course of history can hinge on the events of a single pivotal day, a day where the old order crumbles and a new era is violently ushered in. For Anglo Saxon England, that day of reckoning was October 14th, 1066, a date etched in blood and stone. On a ridge in Sussex, a place that would forever be known as the site of the Battle of Hastings, a civilization that had lasted for over 6 centuries, a tapestry woven with unique customs and traditions, fought its final, desperate battle for survival. By sunset, the seemingly impenetrable shield wall, the pride of the Anglo-Saxon army, was irrevocably broken. The king, Harald Godwinson, was dead, struck down amidst the carnage, and Anglo-Saxon England, as it had been known for generations, was gone, vanished like mist in the morning sun. The Norman conquest wasn't merely a change of rulers, a simple swapping of one king for another. It was a total and utter transformation of every facet of English life. Language, law, architecture, and the very identity of the people were all irrevocably reshaped in the aftermath of that fateful day. The Anglo-Saxon elite, the lords and ladies of the land, were swept away without mercy, replaced by Norman lords and knights who spoke a foreign tongue and held allegiance to a foreign king. Old English, the language of the people, faded from the halls of power, replaced by French, the language of the conquerors, in the royal court and the hallowed halls of law. For 3 long centuries, England was a land bitterly divided by language, by class, and by the lingering resentment of the conquered. The Battle of Hastings was lost, decisively and brutally, but the long and arduous struggle for the very soul of England had only just begun, a struggle that would define the nation for generations to come. Before 1066, Anglo-Saxon England was a sophisticated, unified kingdom. Governed by kings and the Witenagemot, it boasted effective local administration and a strong sense of identity. Old English was the language of epic poetry and law, monasteries were centres of learning, and the church wielded great influence. Prosperous and well-organised, England's wealth and stability made it a tempting prize. Its fertile lands, trade routes, and silver currency attracted ambitious eyes from across the sea. This was the kingdom that would soon face its greatest crisis. The crisis began with the death of King Edward the Confessor, who left no heir. 3 men claimed the throne: Harald Godwinson, the powerful English earl; William, Duke of Normandy, who claimed a royal promise; and Harald Hardrada, the legendary king of Norway. Harald was crowned by the Witenagemot, but William and Hardrada prepared to invade. William gathered a massive army, backed by the Pope and European knights. Hardrada, urged on by Harold's exiled brother Tostig, assembled a Viking fleet. England became the battleground for their ambitions. The fate of a nation would be decided by these rival kings. The stage was set for a year of war. The year is 1066. A storm was brewing, not just in the skies, but across the kingdoms of England. The first invasion came from the north, a fierce and formidable force ready to stake their claim. In September, the Viking king Harald Hardrada, a seasoned warrior with a reputation for ruthlessness, landed on English shores, his target, the city of York. At Fulford Gate, Hardrada's Vikings clashed with the English forces, and in a bloody and decisive encounter they crushed them. The English defences crumbled, and the Vikings seized York, a major victory that emboldened their campaign and sent shockwaves throughout the land. The city, a vital strategic point, now lay in the hands of the invaders. King Harald Godwinson, the newly crowned ruler of England, faced a dire choice, a decision that would determine the fate of his kingdom. Should he defend the south from the looming threat of William of Normandy, who also claimed the English throne, or save the north from the Viking onslaught led by Hardrada? 2 powerful enemies, 2 separate invasions demanding immediate action. He chose action, decisive and swift. Gathering his elite hussars and as many men as he could muster, Harald marched his army nearly 200 miles in a grueling 4 days, pushing them to their limits to surprise the Norwegians at Stamford Bridge. The battle that ensued was brutal, a clash of titans that would be etched in the annals of history. Hardrada, the fearsome Viking king, fell in battle, along with Tostig, Harold's own brother who had allied himself with the invaders. The Viking threat was decisively destroyed, their ambitions of conquest crushed on the fields of Stamford Bridge. It was a stunning victory for Harald, a testament to his leadership and the valour of his English warriors. But Harold's army was exhausted and bloodied, their strength depleted after the long march and the fierce battle. Just days later, as the dust settled on Stamford Bridge, William's fleet landed unopposed on the southern coast, setting foot on English soil with his Norman army. Harald had defeated one rival, securing his kingdom from the Viking invasion, but at a terrible cost, leaving his forces weakened and vulnerable. His forces were depleted, their numbers thinned by the battle in the north, and the real test, the ultimate battle for the crown of England, was yet to come. The northern storm had passed, leaving behind a trail of blood and exhaustion, but a greater one loomed from the south, promising an even more decisive and transformative conflict. England's fate hung precariously in the balance, teetering on the edge of a new era. News of William's landing at Pevensey quickly reached Harold Godwinson. Fresh from his victory at Stamford Bridge, Harold immediately turned his weary army south, a forced march that would test their endurance to its limits. He paused briefly in London, gathering what reinforcements he could from the local levies and remaining troops. Every man would be needed. On October 13th, they arrived near Hastings and took position atop Senlac Hill, a naturally defensible location. There they formed a formidable shield wall, a dense formation of interlocking shields and determined warriors. William's army, a diverse force including archers, infantry and heavily armoured cavalry, prepared for battle. As dawn broke the next morning, the Norman army advanced, eager to engage the English forces. The English shield wall held firm for hours, repelling wave after wave of Norman attacks. English axes and shields clashed violently with Norman steel, creating a scene of brutal hand-to-hand combat. William, ever the charismatic leader, rallied his men, preventing their morale from breaking. He rode amongst them, shouting encouragement after rumours of his death began to spread. William then employed cunning tactics, using feigned retreats to lure English troops from their defensive line, breaking their formation. As exhaustion began to set in on both sides, the battle reached a critical point. Norman archers, taking advantage of the weakened defence, fired high volleys of arrows over the shield wall. Tradition says King Harald was struck down, a pivotal moment in the battle. Some accounts claim he was felled by an arrow, piercing his eye, while others suggest he was cut down by a Norman knight in the thick of the fighting. With their king dead on the battlefield, the English line finally collapsed, their morale shattered. The last of the housecarls, Harold's personal guard, fought to the death, bravely defending their fallen king's banner. The sun set on the bloody field. The battle was over, a decisive victory for William. The Battle of Hastings marked the end of Anglo Saxon England, forever changing the course of British history. A new era, the Norman era, had begun, ushering in a new dynasty and a new cultural landscape. Harold's death shattered resistance, and William marched on London. On Christmas Day, 1066, William was crowned King of England in Westminster Abbey. The old Anglo Saxon elite were dispossessed, their lands given to Norman barons. Castles rose across the land, symbols of foreign power. French became the language of the court. Old English survived only among the common people. The legal system, language and culture were transformed forever. The Domesday Book recorded the new order, a conquered land remade. The Anglo-Saxons lost not just a king, but their kingdom and way of life.